I'm looking at myself in this camera and I really need a shave. You can tell it's getting bad because my face itches. Anyway, pick five, win five. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in between. Welcome back to my daily betting show where it is my job to give you my 5 favorite plays in the sports betting world. Yes, I said daily betting show. We are probably going to be taking a few days off next week because the MLB All-Star break, and frankly, there aren't a whole lot of sports to bet on right now, and I don't want to just toss out some completely random bets to you guys that I know nothing about. But with that being said, we are still in MLB action, and we're coming off of another winning day. 3-2 day yesterday. We were one single pitch away from a 4-1 day. Top of the ninth, ninth inning. Let's start there. Ninth inning, full count, 3-2, 2 outs. Diamondbacks up 1-0 on the Mets. We need one more pitch. We need one strike, put the ball in play, a ground out, a flat, whatever the case may be. We are one pitch away, and Christian Alvarez, 21-year-old rookie catcher for the Mets, goes yard. 2 bats, 2 plate appearances later, the Mets get an RBI triple and they win the game. So that was pretty tragic, but you know what? 3-2, we still got the profit, and we will take profit any chance that we can get. And what I will take is all of the support that you guys have been showing me on the last few videos. The new subscribers, to everybody out there, welcome in. All the likes on the videos, the comments, really makes my day. I truly appreciate all of you guys. So from the bottom of my heart, let's keep growing this thing and let's keep going to the moon, because that's where we're going today. Let's go ahead and jump into our first pick of the show. We are going with the Cleveland Guardians -1.5 versus the Kansas City Royals. This pick is one of 4 plus money bets on our schedule today. Yes, 5 picks, 4 of them for plus money. It does not get much better than that. I will tell you why I like the Guardians in this spot. They've got Tanner Bibby going for them on the mound. Funny name, but the guy is 5-2 with a 3.46 ERA and a 1.26 whip. Decent numbers. Going against Jordan Lyles, who's 1-11 with a 6.68 ERA, 1.30 whip. Now, the whip isn't terrible. It's actually not even that bad. But the 6.68 ERA, that is just dreadful. And then the 1-11 record. I know I always say record doesn't really matter for pitchers, but come on. At some point, let's at least get another win on there. We can't just have one win going into the All-Star break. The Guardians are 10-6 over their last 16. That's not groundbreakingly amazing, but they don't play teams as bad as the Royals, because guess what? The Royals are the worst team in baseball. And when you take into account they've also lost 7 of their last 10, we know which side of that coin we want to be on. Kansas City also just 12-31 on the road. They've scored fewer runs than everyone in baseball over the last month. They're averaging just about 3.4 runs per game. The Guardians, meanwhile, have the second best bullpen ERA in baseball. So not only is their starter going to give them the advantage, but their bullpen's going to come in and shut things down. Royals, by the way, second worst bullpen ERA in baseball. The Royals, as we all know, are the worst team in baseball against the spread. I do pick against the Royals a lot, so I feel like I'm almost repeating myself at this point. Guardians -1.5. That is our first pick of the show. At number 2, this is our only bet that is not for plus money. It's the only regular odds pick. It's the Chicago White Sox +1.5 versus the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, I know the Blue Jays have this big name brand value because they've got the stars, they got the powerful hitters, the Vladdies, the Bo Bichette's. We know the cats they have out there. And maybe it's because the Blue Jays were this team that arrived on the scene a year or two early a couple of years ago. Maybe it's because they're in the AL East, which, as we all know, is the toughest division in baseball. But the Blue Jays just have not been that profitable for bettors. In fact, they've been anything but. In games where they are favored, and they are favored today, in games where they are favored, they are 26-40 against the spread. 26-40. That is not good. That is not good at all. On the mound, they do have the advantage. I will admit that. Jose Berrios going against Lance Lynn. One of my colleagues in the sports betting industry calls Lance Lynn Fat Lance. Fat Lance has a 5-8 record with a 6.47 ERA and a 1.50 whip. That's not that great. Well, hold my hands up. That's not that great. Berrios is 8-6 with a 3.74 ERA and a 1.20 whip. Here's the thing. The Blue Jays won game 1 in this series 4-3, but they did not cover, obviously. Thinking a low-scoring game, something like a 4-3, maybe a 5-4. I'm not totally confident in going in the under, but I would certainly lean that way if I had to. Both teams are bottom 10 in scoring over the last month, which is another reason to believe this will be a close game, and in that situation, you do like the underdog spreads. The reason for that being, if there are fewer runs scored, it's hard harder for any team to build up real separation and pull away and ultimately cover a run line if you are the favorite in that case. The White Sox might not be that great of a baseball team. They might be disappointing overall, but they are 45-42 against the spread, whereas the Blue Jays are the fourth worst team in baseball against the spread. White Sox are also much better at home than they are on the road. That's not saying a whole lot because they're one game under 500, but still, you would want to bet on them when they are at home, and that is where they are today. So we are going to go with the White Sox for our second pick of the show. Our third pick, we have got the Cincinnati Reds on the money line versus the Washington Nationals. That's right. You are not mishearing me. You can get the Cincinnati Reds on the money line against the Nationals for plus money. Sign me up for that. On the mound, we've got Brandon Williamson for the Reds. He's 1-2 with a 5.56 ERA, 140 whip. That's not good. But he's going against Mackenzie Gore, who's 4-7 with a 4.48 ERA and a 147 whip. Very similar numbers, also not that good. Gore gave up 7 earned runs in 2.2 innings in his last start. Williamson is not the best pitcher in baseball, but again, Gore is kind of near his level. I know the numbers aren't identical, but they're in the same ballpark. One of them's 24 years old. The other one's 25 years old. You have similar expectations for both of them. So if we completely strip away the defensive side of the game and we look purely at the offense, it's not even close. The Reds' offense is so much better. And here's the thing, they're constantly improving. I love the swagger that they're playing with. If you didn't see, yesterday, Elly De La Cruz got checked for having an illegal bat early in the game. Later on, it's a 450-foot piss missile up to the moon. And he holds up his bat and he points at it to the umpires as he's jogging around saying, you want to check that? You want to check to see if that's a legal bat? I love what they are doing in Cincinnati, or at least what they're doing in the nation's capital right now. The Reds have won 7 of their last 8, including all 3 against the Nats in this series. They've outscored the Nats 20-8 in the process. On one hand, you've got the second highest scoring team in baseball in the Reds. On the other, it's the second lowest scoring team in baseball, the Nationals. We know which side we want to be on right there. We want to go with the Reds, and we are going with those Reds on the money line for pick number 3 on this Thursday edition of Pick 5, Win 5. Pick number 4, we're going with the Philadelphia Phillies money line for plus 145 versus the Tampa Bay Rays. This money line pick represents the greatest value and the largest underdog on today's pick, and I'm super excited about it. You want to know why? The Phillies have been putting it together lately. They've won 21 of their last 28 games. That's a large sample size of win 3, lose 1, win 3, lose 1. That's a good pattern. That's something we can get down with. Now, they are playing a Rays team that has been the best team in the American League so far this season, but it's also a Rays team that looks like it's ready for the All-Star break. They've sort of mentally checked out a little bit, lost 4 straight, including 10 of their last 16. They're not hitting the ball as effectively. They're making some more mental lapses on the defensive side of the game. The pitchers haven't been quite at the same caliber as of late. Phillies been playing better over the last month, and they've also got an advantage in this game. Reason for that being, Christian Sanchez is starting for them. He's 0-2, but he's got a 3.26 ERA and a 1.14 whip. Also coming off of a month where he had a 2.40 ERA for the month. So we definitely like that. Looking like it's going to be a bullpen day for the Rays, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Their bullpen ERA is 12th in baseball, but the Phillies bullpen ERA is actually 11th. So we can call the bullpen a wash. We like the advantage with Sanchez starting for the Phillies. And we also like the Phillies offense, which has outscored the Rays over the last month and led them to wins in the first 2 games of this series. Definitely like the Phillies in this spot. And for plus 145, I think it's a definite from a value perspective. That's going to go ahead and take us into our final pick of the show. And guys, as per usual, as I normally do, before I tell you my final pick, I would remind you all to subscribe to the channel. We've got daily picks coming out all the time. We're going to have all sorts of other content later in the MLB season with NFL, NBA, all that good stuff. But for now, you're here for the picks. And I got you guys, because our final pick is the Chicago Cubs money line plus 100 versus the Milwaukee Brewers. On the mound for the Cubs, we have Marcus Stroman. Guy's an all-star, and he's an all-star for a reason. 9-6 with a 2.76 ERA and a 1.09 whip. Very impressive numbers. Even more impressively, every season this month, his ERA has been below 3. So he has been the definition of consistency. And we love that going against a Brewers team that's starting Freddie Peralta, 5-7 with a 4.60 ERA and a 1.37 WHIP. Peralta can be good on his day, but also his numbers haven't been overly impressive so far this season. The Cubs have taken 2 of 3 in this series. Now, every game has been close, which is why we aren't looking at a run line here. The one game was decided by 2 runs. The other 2 were decided by 1. So these teams have been neck and neck. Cubs got a big comeback victory in the 9th inning yesterday to win 4-3. So that's good for momentum. The Cubs are actually 8th in scoring over the last month of baseball. I know that isn't exactly what you would think when you think of the Cubs team or you just hear the Cubs name, but they have been hitting the ball. Some more credit to them. Bullpen ERA is nearly identical. So again, the bullpen's a wash, but we do like the Cubs with the starting advantage with Marcus Stroman. Only thing to watch out for is Dansby Swanson is injured for Chicago. Banged up his heel early in yesterday's game, came out early, but apparently he's going to be coming off the bench, or at least they're going to be looking to him, which tells me he's still decently healthy enough to make an impact in this game if they need him. But I don't think they will. I do think the Cubs get this one done on the money line. And that's going to do it for our picks for today. So let's do our rundown. First pick, Cleveland Guardians -1.5 versus the Kansas City Royals. Then we've got the Chicago White Sox +1.5 versus the Toronto Blue Jays. Cincinnati Reds money line versus the Washington Nationals. Philadelphia Phillies money line versus the Tampa Bay Rays. And Chicago Cubs money line versus the Milwaukee Brewers. Guys, thank you as always for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Until I see you all next time, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day.